All right. And let's take one here from Mitch, who says, "Dear Wooly, who can't bend his knees, and Pat, who swears this will be the last time he kneels, but for real this time."
I don't understand that at all.
Of course, you don't understand
At
it.
all.
That makes no sense. Please explain to me why George Lucas is a money-hungry hack for every Star Wars director's recut that he released and told the same story with, if not for a few slightly different scenes and better effects. Now explain why RE4, FF7, Modern Warfare 2, etc. are good creative decisions by game companies. Yeah, I get it's your job to play games, but were you aware that on last week's episode of the podcast, Paul Marketing got you so high on nostalgia that you were actually excited and hyping up a release or a re-release of an absolute turd of a game, Resident Evil 5? Anyway, enough being salty, I guess. My question is, what dead or forgotten franchise would you want to see brought back in the form of a remake instead of a brand new title?
So I'd like to answer the first question. And so I completely understand their
Mitch!
point. So I completely understand their point, and there is some merit to it in that George Lucas did get a lot of for constantly re-releasing things. And you've got like Red Letter Media and people like us who are like, man, what a money-hungry shitbag, idiot, moron, blah, blah, blah. Meanwhile, we're fawning over remakes of games that came out 20 years ago. There's a few distinctions to be made. George Lucas took steps to actively destroy the original versions of those films. RE4 continues to exist, and Capcom will sell it to you gladly. There's no attempt to make it so that you can't play original RE4. Meanwhile, George Lucas would release new versions of his movies, go, yeah, those old ones are terrible, and do everything in his power to stop the old ones from being sold or existing at all. So that's one.
See, if the stuff that was done to the re-release didn't make it, then I wouldn't have a problem with it. But it's the part where it's and has dumb things in it that makes it worse.
So,
right?
like people point out, Warcraft 3 Original
good is good.
Like Warcraft 3 Original no longer exists. Warcraft 3 Reforged is much worse. That's a problem, right? On top of that, one of the reasons why people are easy to dunk on George Lucas is that he made the prequel Star Wars movies, which are some of the worst movies I've ever seen in the theater. Meanwhile, the Resident Evil 4 remake is stellar and is possibly a game of the year. And that would be the case even if original RE4 didn't exist, because it's not that it's nostalgia, it's that it's excellent.
Now, RE4 as well is in a different camp entirely from something like FF7, which is more than just a remake, clearly, because it's a whole fucking reimagining of what that game is and could be. All of which I'm super open for, because I don't think that Star Wars, once the original trilogy existed, should have stopped, closed shop, and ended it. I have no problem with new Star Wars and new things existing in that world. You want them to be things of quality, right? The main thing here that you seem to not understand as a through line is when it's done well, is when it's done in a way that preserves what's liked about the thing and doesn't replace or hide or edit out stuff that people enjoyed. It's not the concept itself that's the problem, it's the execution of it, but you seem to think that everything is the same and it's the idea of the remake that's the problem, when it's clearly not.
So I'd also like to go on to say that the term remake is actually a little bit of a problem here. So when the special edition of Star Wars came out, which is a worse cut of the original Star Wars.
Yeah, CG right? Replacing the special effects, weird things like Han stepping on the tail, all that fucked up.
It's still Star Wars, right? It's just edit here, edit there, cut effect, redone effect here. It's still 95% of the same movie. It's the same actors, it's the same scenes, right? Resident Evil 4 remake is completely new built engine, completely new. Like, it's the distinctions are different. You want to think about a remaster as if we were talking about video game remasters going, oh my God, look, Okami in HD came out. It's the best thing ever because it's Okami in HD. And the thing that I can think of that actually fits this description the best is DMC Devil May Cry got re-released on the consoles with a bunch of changes, and that's the game going forward. Virgil doesn't have his fedora anymore. right? They changed a couple of the gameplay things with hitting red and blue enemies, and that's the version of the game that people are going to remember. And the reason why people look on that fondly is because that version of the game is better than the original released version. Every version that Lucas ever put out afterwards was always an inferior version to the original cut.
It's kind of wild to take up an argument in a straw man fashion that nobody's having. Like, I've never said that about I've never said that about Modern Warfare 2 or whatever, but regardless if the words are being shoved in my mouth, to just take up the argument and zoom out in such a way where the quality of what we're discussing is no longer the factor that is deciding how we feel about it. It's just the mere concept of revisiting the thing. Like, it's such a weird, like, in a world where I've spent the last, decade, like, talking about how awesome Bionic Commando Rearmed is and shit like that, and we go on and on about like, it's so wild to not understand that it's about the quality of the execution, you know? Anyways, so...
Yeah, the reason why people shit on George Lucas is he made a shit ton of bad movies in a row and then made the movie that you liked actively worse.
Yeah,
hey, Hollywood remakes films. The Departed is a remake of Infernal Affairs. Guess what? It rules. It's a fucking great movie.
They're both great. I still recommend you watch Infernal Affairs 1, 2, and 3 and The Departed.
Scarface and The Thing are remakes of earlier movies.
Yeah. So anyways, I don't know. Like, this is not a case of like goalpost moving. Like, Mitch like changed fields and went to
he lives in a different reality.
He grabbed the basketball court and he took the rim with him, and we're over here on the soccer field. Like, I
would like to recontextualize the question. Why is it when George Lucas makes something worse, people like that less than when Capcom makes something better?
Yeah.
Because it's better instead of being worse.
You said DMC Devil May Cry, but you could have said DMC 4. You could have said DMC 3. You could have said...
You know what's funny?
5.
You know what game I'm not going to talk about? Resident Evil 3 Remake. You know why? Because Resident Evil 3 Remake is worse than Resident Evil 3. So people don't hold it up like they do 2 and 4.
Really? Interesting.
Despite the fact that it's a new game.
That's interesting. I didn't realize that you guys felt so badly about it. I remember you guys said it was rushed, and I remember they thought...
cut so much, dude!
I thought that it kind of landed in a place where it's still better than the original, but it's just nowhere near what 2 was. Lovingly.
Well, I mean, for a human being that doesn't mind the old controls, yeah, the old one's much better. But if you're a human that does mind the old controls because... Well, let's be honest. You would prefer the new one just because of the way it controls.
Anyway, so there you go, Mitch. All right. Hope that helps.
Wow, we got a lot of wrong in the emails today.
Yeah, but in one case it was the debater throwing his friend under the bus, and in this case we just get some dude coming in.
I gotta say, I love this like fucking
combative,
genuine, your heart terrible take, like shit coming to the email.
Yeah. Well, the problem is now that's being encouraged, right? Now we get terrible takes incoming, hot.
Yeah, but they have to be genuine. It's really easy to tell, like, I'm going to say something because it's stupid. But this person believed the stupid thing.